Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Before I begin, don't forget to join my Discord server called Luke 10's Hangar. I plan on joining weekly, so if anybody wants to fly together, we can make that happen. My Discord server is linked down in the description below. Today I'll be talking about the P-51 Mustang, but more specifically, the D-20. I've been seeing a lot of people really hate on this plane or say it's only good at one thing, and I don't think the Mustang deserves all that hate it gets at times. I think one of the main reasons why some people don't like the Mustangs in this game is mainly not understanding the flight characteristics that are associated with the Mustang. For example, the Mustang's not a Zero or a Spitfire. These aircraft fly completely different from each other, but all of them require something in order to keep them flying and perform maneuvers, and that something is energy. Another big requirement in this plane is patience. The Mustang is not a pure turn fighter. While it can make some quick maneuvers in the early dogfight when it has energy, it can't keep its energy with continuous drastic maneuvers. Same thing with the Zero. The Zero needs energy in order to turn fight. If it doesn't have the energy it needs, it becomes a very vulnerable target. The Zero already isn't the fastest plane in the skies, so there's very little room for error in the plane if you're down low and slow. People can say all they want how good and overpowered the Zero is, but in the grand scheme of things, speed will always kill agility. A lot of people don't realize it, but it's true. Speed will always kill agility if your spacing's good enough. At least with the Mustang, you're able to get out of a lot of very unfavorable situations if you're aware and your spacing allows. The Mustang is one of the fastest props at all of the battle ratings it sits at. I would highly recommend that you boom and zoom in the Mustang. Being great up high, fast, and having 650 cals is pretty lethal if it's used correctly. Overall, the P-51s are very solid aircraft that I think can be misunderstood, and it comes down to the pilot flying and their decision-making skills. Overall, the P-51s are very solid aircraft that I think can be misunderstood, and it comes down to the pilot flying and their decision-making. If you can climb high and stay fast, you'll probably do a lot better than the Mustangs down low, fully committing head-ons with everyone they see. You probably don't want to be that kind of a Mustang pilot. The Mustang pilot that you probably want to be is the one that's up high, the one that's fast, and the one that's trying to boom and zoom people. I will go into more detail about my thought process through my full game coming up next. I hope you enjoy the gameplay. Now we're in the first game, and I'm with my squad mate Honor. Unfortunately, I've been having a lot of problems in this game with packet loss and lag, so I had to restart my game twice, so now I'm coming in halfway through the game. Unfortunately, Honor's out in the middle of the map all by himself, so I'm trying to get there as quickly as possible, and our team really hasn't done very much. Right now there's 3 enemies on Honor, and they're pretty much at equal altitudes. Honor and I just made the plan that he's just going to keep diving, trying to bait the enemies down low, while I climb and boom and zoom. I don't want to climb too high though. I know that Honor's out in the middle all by himself, and he's going to have a pretty hard time with 3 guys on him, but thankfully he's able to take at least one out. Honor just got into a right fight with the Wyvern, and just coming out of a dive in the Mustang, we know that the Wyvern's not going to be able to outturn the Mustang. The reason why we came up with that plan is because the P-51's faster than 2 out of the 3 enemies that we just saw. It's not faster than the Wyvern. Thankfully the spacing was good enough and the Wyvern decided to follow Honor. Overall it gave me enough time to come in. But you just have to remember that it's all judging the energy states of you and your opponent. Thankfully the Wyvern made a few mistakes and Honor's able to get in behind him, and now the Wyvern's in a really vulnerable situation. And then Honor's able to take him out. And this just goes to show that a little bit of communication goes a long way. Now we're both going to fight this Ki-43. Even though the Ki-43 is one of the most agile planes in the entire game, it's still not going to be able to do very much when it's down low and getting boom and zoomed by a Mustang. A lot of people in these really agile planes seem to think that they can get away with anything. And that's not always true. You need energy, just as I said in the beginning of this video. Energy and altitude is key in this game, especially in the Mustang. Honor's just going to try to bait himself while I come in behind this Ki-43 and boom and zoom him. Unfortunately, the Ki-43 sees me at the very last second. He brakes right hard. I'm able to hit him, he gets entirely too low and hits the ground. Even though that was pretty unlucky with what happened to him, it was only a matter of time until we were able to just boom and zoom him and kill him. Eventually, he would have just run out of energy. Honor and I both just turned right, and we're going to keep climbing for the enemies in front of us. All we have to do now is just think ahead and be very strategic. I'm also going to be looking around me, always being aware of all my surroundings. Honor was just able to spot this Wyvern right now, so I'm going to turn in towards him and we're going to try to double team this guy. Just as I finish looking around me, always being aware of all my surroundings, I see this Israeli P-51 just pop up out of nowhere going straight in for Honor, and he's closing fast. Honor and I are going to have to make a really quick plan here because Honor's going to have a really difficult time with these 2 guys around him. I open the throttle and get my nose down. I need to get to Honor as quickly as possible. Honor tries desperately to try to kill this Wyvern. He gets a couple hits on him, but unfortunately the Wyvern doesn't go down. Now he's in a really rough spot because that Israeli Mustang came in right behind him and he's firing. I'm closing fast, but unfortunately it's not fast enough, and then Honor gets set on fire. Now it's my job to avenge him. Now this is what I'm thinking in my head. I have the altitude advantage and I have the airspeed advantage. If I just keep this, I'll be able to win. These guys are a lot lower than I am and they don't have my energy state. That wyvern starts to pull straight up in towards me, which is a really bad idea, but great for me, so I'm able to fire at him and then take him out. Now I've got that Israeli P-51 in sight, I'm just going to climb back up to altitude and I'm always going to look around me, being aware of all my surroundings. The Mustang is also a pretty solid climber, you just have to have some patience with it. I'm just watching this Mustang right now. He starts to come in towards me, I'm just going to try to come in behind him. He's going to brake right, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to climb right back up to altitude. I'm going to trade my airspeed for some altitude, and then I'm just going to regain my energy back in the dive. All I got to do here is just make a loop. He's going to stay in that turn, and that's really not going to be good for him. While he's losing energy, I'm going to be gaining energy. And this is exactly what a boom and zoom is. If one attempt doesn't work out, you just come back around and try it again. He's going to start to brake right again. He already doesn't have the energy he needs. I'm going to start firing at him, set him on fire, and take him out. And then immediately after the kill, I'm going to climb back up to altitude, and I'm always going to be looking around me, being aware of all my surroundings. I know that there's only one enemy left, and he's a brigand. Thankfully he's down low, so that's a huge advantage for me. Not to mention he's also a light bomber. The brigand and I are now pretty close to each other. I'm just going to do the exact same thing I did to that Mustang earlier. Looks like the brigand's trying to go vertical with me, and then he kind of hesitates, so I'm just going to boom and zoom him here. Thankfully this guy doesn't have a back gunner for me to worry about. I start firing the gun there, hit him a few times, but then unfortunately I don't take him down, so now I have to just try it all over again, which is totally fine. I know he's not going to be able to outrun me, so he's in a really bad spot here. Notice how I climbed away from this enemy. At least with me turning one way or the other, if this guy actually follows me, he's going to have to turn and lose some energy. That'll be fine for me because I know that I can outrun this guy, but if you can't outrun your enemy, you just have to look at the spacing. Even if you are faster than your enemy, you still have to look at the spacing, but overall it's just judgment. I'm going to start firing the gun here, see if I can scare him a little bit and try to get some nice hits on him. He's just letting me hit him, which is really nice. Then he starts to brake right and pull up. He's in a really bad situation. And then I'm able to kill him. And just like that, we're able to win the game. This just shows with just a little bit of communication and teamwork, we can win 2v6s just like this. Thank you everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope this video helped out anyone looking for tips and tricks in the Mustang, or really just curious on what my opinion is on the Mustang. If you couldn't tell, I think that the Mustang is very underrated and misunderstood. The main things I can take away from this plane is that it needs its energy and it needs patience. If you have those things, you'll probably be leaps and bounds better than the average Mustang pilot who usually doesn't care about those. If anybody has any suggestions on what aircraft I want me to fly next, please leave in the comments section down below and I'd be happy to fly that aircraft.